Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Rick, and you are listening to the Space City podcast. That's right, baby. Space City. Anybody from Houston, find yourself listening to this, appreciate the support. And everybody around the world, if you like it, wherever you're listening, be sure to leave that review for us because it helps out so much. And okay, so today we have a good topic for you, and it's going to be over something that I guess has been kind of popularized in movies, but they had to have got the idea from somewhere. And so the topic that we have today is: are we living in a simulation? That's right, like kind of like the Matrix. Is the world that we're living in, is it really just a computer program? Well, let's find out. The first question that I have to ask though is that, have you ever had deja vu? Have you ever swore that you met someone before somewhere, sometime, someplace, but you just can't quite figure out how or when? Now, some may say like this is just a coincidence. Our mind has the ability to kind of subconsciously grasp for connections that make things feel real or familiar. Or we could even unknowingly just be finding similarities to something we do have a connection to. But then again, there's people that will say these feelings are happening because they're real. The connection is real. And that connection that we're talking about is one that everyone in this whole world shares. A connection to the simulation that we're living in. A connection to a program every single one of us are in and day out for a whole lifespan. And again, if the 1999 movie Matrix came to your mind whenever you heard this, you're not mistaken, because it has some similarities, but it's not exactly the same. So today we'll take a deep dive into one of the most mesmerizing theories on life as we know it. And this theory is shared and supported by some of the greatest minds in our common era. And today we'll find out if we are indeed living in a simulation. So again, I'd like to thank you for listening to our podcast. This is our first episode, and we have the privilege of having you here with us. And we couldn't be more appreciative of you sharing your day with us. I'll try not to sound too dumb on here, but quick before we start, I'd just like to give you a quick rundown that on our podcast, I always try and present the facts in a way that we can draw solid conclusions. Okay, so my goal here is not to either prove or disprove or shed light on what the possible reason can be behind the topic that we're discussing. Okay, so I'm not here to sway you. I'm not here to lead you to see things my way. I don't like it when people try to do that to me, so I wouldn't do that to you. Okay, so when I find a topic that interests me, I like to spend the time researching and studying because I want to know why or why not, and I think we all share that sentiment. So I encourage you, if you do find something worth listening to that we present, don't let our word be where you stop, okay? Do your own research. That way you see for yourself what the facts of the case are. And of course, as with all the cases, we will list all links and data we use to help us in our investigation, and that will be on our website, okay? So now we can take our little descent down the rabbit hole. And this is where things get interesting. There's still time to turn back, but if you've already taken that red pill, it's too late, because you're about to be woke, and there ain't no going back. Okay. So, are we living in a Matrix type world? A program of some sort? Has Lambda taken over already? If you don't know what Lambda is, don't worry, because we're going to post a piece about that soon. But in any case, the theory behind this is basically that we're all ones and zeros living in a program of some sort. The world we're living in, the relationships that we have, the house we sleep in are all artificially constructed, along with our very conscious that makes us who we are. During our research, we found a hypothesis written by a man named Nick Bostrom, who asked the question, are we living in a computer simulation? And as crazy as it may sound, there's a lot of brilliant minds that kind of back him up. And for example, Elon Musk is one, and Neil deGrasse Tyson is another. These guys, they have similar points of views, but it's not exactly the same. And so since we opened with Nick Bostrom's claim, we'll go ahead and start there. So Nick's hypothesis is it's very complex. It took me, it took me watching videos of him over and over. I had to reread his paper many times just to grasp a basic understanding of what he believes. And so what I'll do is I'll describe what he wrote in a nutshell, okay? And so Nick poses what I guess science would call a trilemma. Okay, so it's basically three possible outcomes, and in this case, he's presenting it towards, I'm thinking life in general. What I got from it? Okay, and so in regarding human civilization, he says outcome one, and this is simplified edition. Humans never reach the ability intellectually to advance technology to a point where they could simulate where they can simulate ourselves. Okay. Outcome two: humans do reach the ability. So humans do reach an intellectual level where they could create a simulation of our ancestors, but they choose not to do so. And then outcome three: humans have achieved the intellect to create a simulation of our ancestors and have chosen to do so. Okay? So outcome three would be that they have found a way, they have the technology to do it, and they said, screw it, we're gonna go ahead and go with this. I don't know how ethics play into this. I don't know exactly. He doesn't go into depth about what exactly is happening in our world at the time to make this necessary. But he's just saying outcome three, they have the technology and they're gonna do it. Okay. And so we'll move on from there. Okay. So according to Bostrom, the highest probability is going to be three, outcome three. Okay. Now, we went into the reasons behind it. We don't fully know why he would suggest something like this would happen. If I had to guess, I would say it's possible because of how we're using computers now and how technology is heading into, I guess, an era to where things are trying to be simulated or machine learned. And he could be drawing off of that to come to his conclusion. Nick sums it up by saying, because we have decided to make a simulation in outcome three, in his hypothesis, there would be no reason why the simulations that were engineered to be us and having free will, it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to come to the determination that whenever they develop their technology to a certain point, that they wouldn't turn around and make a simulation of themselves. So he's saying that we did it, we made a simulation of ourselves, they would do it. Okay? And so what he's claiming is that what you would have would be a lot of different simulations, an endless amount of simulations created of humans. Okay? Now, Elon Musk agrees with his claim, okay? And he goes even further by saying that humans have already came to that point. The original humans have already came to that point to where they had the technology, and they decided to do the simulation, and those simulations already made simulations, and we are, according to Elon Musk, our world is a simulation that was created by somebody. Whether we're the first or the thousandth, it's undeterminable, and that's not important anyways. According to Musk, we're just not the originals. And Musk says he draws upon that conclusion by where we are now. He uses technology, okay? He used video games as an example, which is interesting. I didn't know Musk was a gamer, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was. I mean, I play games. I'm not knocking gamers. Shoot, they're fun. I mean, everybody enjoys it. It's a good pastime. So, take for instance how far we've come with those games. I mean, I'm gonna show my age a little bit here, but let's talk about Pong. Who remembers Pong? Raise your hand. If you raise your hand, I hope you didn't raise your hand. So, anyways, who remembers Pong? 2 white sticks bouncing back and forth. Bleep bloop. You got a big old VCR tape looking controller in your hand with the little dial on it, and you turn it left to right. You know, and that makes the stick go up and down, and you're sitting there like all locked in, watching this ball bounce back and forth, and whoever sneaks it past the other one wins a point. Okay. So that was entertaining back then, and some may find it entertaining now. I mean, I'm not trying to say that those games still got value, but look how far we've come. I mean, look at like the opening scenes on video games now. Look at where graphics are. Look at where the storyline is. I mean, I have friends that get so deep into games that, I mean, they basically become the character. You know what I mean? Like, I have a friend that's so hooked on Halo, he thinks he's the Master Chief. You know? And then look how far virtual reality has come. I mean, look at all the progress with machine learning, you know, that almost replicates human emotion, that sometimes fool people into thinking that it is human, it's sentient. Or search engines that can distinguish between search results based on relevance of context keywords. I mean, that's a human capability, and there have even been claims that there's a sentient AI, and that's what we were talking about earlier with Lambda. And we'll go into that another time, but do some research on it. I mean, it's an interesting topic. But Musk states that we're already headed forward to simulating human life. And although one difference in his idea from Bostrom's is that we're doing it because if not, our civilization is going to end abruptly. He also uses the metaverse as a reference to how we're progressing towards simulating human life. And now we'll move to Neil deGrasse Tyson's standpoint. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's a famed physicist. He's a very funny guy. I love his passion that he has for science. Some people would say he's like a Hollywood physicist, but I enjoy his work, and I have a lot of respect for him. And so he has a little bit more fun with it. He was kind of joking around on some interviews about it, but he tends to lean more towards the way that there's a 50-50 probability that we either are simulations or we're the original humans headed towards a point in which we will simulate ourselves. In my personal opinion, if we are simulations, we wouldn't know it even if we were. I mean, if we were created as a simulation, and I can't even begin to guess why it would. I guess in my opinion, it would be for scientific research, to gain knowledge on what would happen if certain variables were instated in human life. The only reason, if that was the case, you wouldn't let the simulation know that they're not real. If you want real results, you can't let them know that they're not real. There's just no way and nobody was around at creation. Nobody was around to see, the first program kicking off. So we just wouldn't even know it. And I know it's a lot to go to think about. I mean, you can spiral on that for who knows how long. But let's put the technical aspects of it on pause, okay? Let's put the logics on hold, okay? And let's start looking at some real life experiences, okay? We're gonna look at some cases here, and these cases are from real people who feel like they have experienced a glitch in the Matrix. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick short break. When we come back, we're gonna dive into that. Hang on. Welcome back to the show. Now let's check out these personal experiences now. And there were so many to choose from. I mean, you type in the topic, you're gonna have over 100 pages pop up, okay? And they're all, interesting stories. But these stood out to me the most. And it's funny that when you're reading through these, I just looked on Reddit, and I know, there's going to be some oddballs there, but once you start looking at them, you start seeing that they kind of corroborate each other. I mean, you start seeing like a little pattern. There were a lot of cases, but there were a lot that started showing up that had the main similarities. Okay, like seeing the same thing twice. Seeing two people exactly the same and know they didn't have a twin, or visions, dreams of being another person, but so much detail, almost like it's impossible for it not to be another version of you, okay? And so it's almost like, okay, like I'm starting to see what it's like if somebody did have a glitch in the simulation. And that's if we are in one. And so now these cases are abbreviated because trying to tell each one of these in full length with the research and all the statements, it would be a whole show for it in itself. So for time purposes, we'll hold off on that one. But we'll do it. We can do if you like this topic and you want to hear more about these cases, send us an email and let us know which case that you found interesting the most, and we'll make a full show about that. And so this first case, we're going to call it the EMT. That's right, the EMT. And this is from Marcus Shame on Reddit. And if you look at our website, we're going to include the Google Maps that he provided to where at the location where it all went down. Okay, so Mark did that for us. He wanted us to see and feel, get a feel of where he was standing whenever this all went down. And that'll be on the website too. Okay, so here we go. This is Mark's story. Driving home on a stormy day, I see that a side road up the local golf course is blocked off by flashing barricades. I also spy a Mercedes parked past the barricades with its hazards on. I stop and walk up to the car to see if they need help. I'm an EMT. I shine my light in the back seat to see a man slumped over, apparently asleep. Thinking I've got some drunks, I move up to the driver window and rap on the glass and shine my light in. The driver is sitting upright, unmoving, staring straight ahead. My window wrapping or light doesn't cause him to blink, flinch, or move. I look over and the passenger is slumped forward onto the dash. This begins to creep me out. I call down to the sheriff's station and request a code 2. A code 2 is a car sent to your location with no lights or sirens. For context. So I call that unit up to my location to help me check them out. The doors were locked. While on the phone, I walk back to my truck to get my go bag. And as I'm on the phone with dispatch, she asked me to get the license number for the car, just as a PG&E power company truck comes rumbling down from up the closed road. So they're coming from the closed road where the barricades were. I move to go around the truck to get the plate number, and the car is gone. I talked to the driver of the big truck, and he said there was an 80-foot tree down across the road, which was on the other side of the barricades, and that he didn't think it'd be open for a day or so. So the question is, Mark says, where the hell did the car go? There's a tree down one way, barricades down the other. Where did it go? It's kept me a bit unsettled when stopping at accidents, hazards since then. So yeah, that's Mark's story. It's a creepy one. I mean, what stood out to me the most was the driver not moving. And the first thing that I would think is like he did. I would think that they were injured. This really reminds me of like a video game, you know, where like the NPGs are like not playing along with the storyline, or they're off doing their own thing. They forgot that they were a video game. It's a crazy simulation we're living in these days, folks. Alright, so onward and upward. This next account is from O'Fails. This is another Reddit account. And this one here is called The Fisherman, or not. And he writes, not creepy, but so vivid and distinct that I still think about it years later. I had subjectively long involved dream where I was a vendor in a fish market. I remember getting up early, dressing, doing a whole morning routine, going to get tea, heading out to the docks and buying fish, loading them in a cart and going to get ice, and then haggling for the ice, buying some fresh fish while I was at it, then go into a market to my stall, setting up and selling fish all day. It was so real. I talked to friends, smoked nasty cigarettes, I'm guessing he's not a smoker, haggled customers, ate lunch, had tea again, and just lived through the day. At the end of the day, I cleaned up, counted my cash, paid the stall rent, went home, cooked some fish, and put it together with some veggies and rice that I traded for. I drank more tea, relaxed for a while, then drew a hot bath, soaked and smoked some more cigarettes, and then went to bed. The next morning, I woke up refreshed, ready to go down to the docks to buy some fresh fish, except I wasn't a fisherman no more. I was in my house, my real house, next to my wife. My truck was parked outside. It was a Saturday, so there was no work. My wife and I were getting geared up to go skiing in Oregon, and the car was already packed. The weird thing was, in this dream, I was single and a smoker, which I'm not, and the whole long dream had been in fluent Chinese, the effortless kind of fluency that only comes from a lifetime of speaking it. Oh, and I had been Chinese, but I'm a big hairy white dude, somewhat fluent in Spanish, and I know a little bit of Russian, but I've never. It was just weird. I never worked in a fish market. I wonder who I was. I wonder what that was. And that's the end of O'Fail's story. So it sounds like some lines got crossed. Like, you remember like on the old telephone companies, whenever you'd be talking and all of a sudden you start hearing another person's conversation. Like you'd say hello, and then you hear three other people say hello, hello. You know, I'm showing my age a little bit, but you know, it was a good example, so I had to throw that out there. And this is funny because I bet you somewhere in China there was a Chinese guy waking up saying, "Man, why in the fuck am I dreaming about being a fat hairy white dude?" I guess their lines got crossed. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's finish strong on this one. This one here is from Musical Moses. This is another Reddit account, and all these links are going to be on the website. So feel free to go check it out. www.spacecityxfiles.com and check out all the links and references there. And okay, so Musical Moses, he writes, 10 years ago, I was returning home from a road trip with two friends. I received a phone call from my parents asking me when would we be arriving. Okay, and I explained that we were about 25 minutes away. About a minute later, we came around a bend, and it was a full moon, and we can see the reflection from the lake below us. But other than that, the road was completely empty. Okay, suddenly everything went completely dark in the car. No lights from the dash or gauges or headlights on the road. The music also stopped and restarted at the beginning of the CD we were listening to. There was now a vehicle pulled over by the police about a quarter mile in front of us that hadn't been there a split second before. I assume I had dozed off for just a second as I was late. I thought it was still quite peculiar, though. And after about a minute, the driver of the car turned the music all the way down and said, "Did that just happen to anybody else?" The other passenger in the back seat sat forward abruptly and exclaimed, "I thought I just fell asleep." We then realized that the clock in the car was reading an hour later than it just had a minute before. To keep ourselves from freaking out, we decided that the car had possibly had a momentary electrical failure, and the clock reset to an odd time, turned off the dash lights, headlights, and gauges, and restarted the CD player. But when we arrived home 25 minutes later, we were 1 hour late. I am missing an hour of my life, and to this day, I have no idea how it happened. Thank you, Ophel, for your account. That's tripped out, man. And so this one kind of here, I mean, it almost has like an alien experience type feeling. I mean, late night, missing time, missing memory. Could it be at time that the people who are claiming to be abducted actually just had a blip in their simulation? Is there any connection there? I don't know. But if it was a glitch and we are in a simulation, I bet if he calls the simulation hotline, he can probably be credited for his missing hour of life back. You know what I mean? I wonder what the weight is on the simulation tech support line. I mean, are you, when you call up there and they put you on hold, are you listening to elevator music, or do you have dubstep or techno playing in the background? Those damn computers. And so anyways, like I said, there was so many cases and so many tiptoed. They kind of tiptoed on the line of being paranormal or ghostly to some point, but most were along the lines of what you could expect from like a software that corrupts. You know, you're playing a video game and it skips. And so what can we say about these cases? To me, I'm not here to dispute anyone's personal experience. I mean, they believe it happened, so that's enough for me. I wasn't there. I wasn't riding in the car with them. It wasn't my dream. You know, I wasn't walking up to the car where the three guys were in it, staring straight ahead. I just know in my lifetime, I've had a couple of instances where I can't explain exactly what happened. So, in my opinion, I don't fully buy into the whole simulation hypothesis, but I do believe that this world is vast and life has many things undiscovered and unexplainable. I think it would be a big mistake and even arrogant and foolish to think that we have experienced every single thing this world has to offer and show. So, two things that happened to me that stand out the most, that fit the mold of being glitches. One was when I was a kid. I was around 5 or 6, and I was sleeping in my parents' room. And I was awake. I was just laying there looking around the room, and the walls in this room, the room was like an unfinished construction add-on. I mean, we had everything in there that to keep you, away from the elements, but it just wasn't painted. It had like particle board or plyboard. I don't know if y'all know what that looks like, but it's like a wood board that's got like spots all over it. So, anyways, I'm laying there and I'm looking at the walls, and all of a sudden I start seeing these translucent, kind of like holographic faces that would appear and then disappear. Some would form at the top of the wall, some would form around the middle, but they were coming in and out, and they were of people. But I could only see them from the shoulders up. It wasn't a whole body picture. It was kind of like a portrait of somebody. And some were smiling, some were just looking at me, but they were all focused on me. And I remember that I wasn't afraid. I didn't even wake my parents up. To me, I felt joy coming from these people. And I'm sorry, I just remember not being afraid. And I guess I kind of just watched them until I fell asleep, but I guess. But I remember it so vividly. And the people, one thing that I did notice is that they were all of different nationalities. And it's funny that stood out to me at that young age. And I remember thinking that so clearly. I remember thinking these people are from all over the world. That's the only time that something like that has ever happened to me. The other time was in high school. And to this day, I'm going to call this deja vu. I don't know how else to explain it. But I remember being in math class, and we had to do this test, and it was a surprise test over some stuff that we had already went over. Big surprise, I wasn't prepared. So I took the test, and I failed miserably, and I just totally bombed it. We then corrected the test in class together, like you sometimes do, and we all marked the right answers, and then went over why they're the right answers and all that good stuff. And so we did the corrections, and I thought, man, this sucks. Like it probably, counted for a big chunk of my grade. And so a few days passed, and I'm walking back into the same math class, and nothing seems out of the ordinary up until that point. And then the teacher says, all right, there's going to be a surprise test. And he hands out a test, and I look at it, and it's the same one that we corrected together. And I'm like, is this a joke? And I look at my friend, and I'm like, man, what the hell, dude? Like, is the teacher tripping or what? Like, he looks at me, and he, like, obviously doesn't know what I'm talking about. He thinks I'm crazy. So I asked the teacher, I'm like, hey, sir, did you forget that we already did this together? And he kind of says something like, oh, Mr. Guerra, if you don't want to take the test, just put your head down. Don't worry about it. Take an F. And at that point, I'm like, well, I tried. So I took the test. This time I marked all the answers right because I know that we went over together, and I finished in minutes, and I finished like in record time. I finished so fast that I finished faster than the smartest girl in class. And she was even giving me looks like when I was turning in my paper, like, there ain't no way you dumbass finished before me. And so anyways, long story short, pretty much the whole class bombs the test. Besides the regular smart kids, they squeak by. But me, I got a perfect score. And to this day, I've never had deja vu be that exact, that spot on. I've had it before, and but there's always some things that are off. It's just like only one thing that seems like it happened the way it was supposed to. Okay. So far, we went over the basics of the simulation hypothesis. We looked at some similar views of brilliant minds. We've even looked at some now real-life personal experiences. I've shared a few with you. But what about the ones that don't buy it? Surely there has to be some ones out there saying, "What the hell is wrong with you people?" I mean, it wouldn't be a true investigation if we didn't research that, right? That we want to present the facts. We don't want to be one-sided. So we want to look at both sides of the case. And so we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll hear from some very smart people that say, "Dude, come on, no." We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Space City X-Files. This is Rick. We're continuing on with the topic, are we living in a simulation? Okay, so now we're going to look at the smart people that say, no, this ain't possible. Okay, so let's dive into this. All right, it says, okay, so it seems like the greatest argument against why this is not true, is why would we do it in the first place? What would be the need? What's the motivation behind this? So a man much smarter than I am, Mr. Michio Kaku, lays down some pretty interesting arguments in his interview with Lex Friedman. And I encourage you to watch the video. The link will be on our website. Mr. Kaku, and if I'm not saying that right, please forgive me. I don't mean any disrespect by it. That's just the way I pronounce it. Is an American theoretical physicist, a futurist, and a popularizer of science and science communication. He is professor of theoretical physics in the City College of New York and a CUNY graduate. And he's single, ladies. No, I'm just kidding. He's probably married. He stated, and this is in summary, that as of now, the only thing that can simulate nature would be nature itself. And the only thing that can simulate a human is a human. Right now, he states that it's unimaginable to think that we could unlock all the secrets of the universe and its vastness, or the human mind and its consciousness. He states that if we ever did and had the means of technology to create some supercomputer that could sustain that kind of data, would we really need to do that? Would we really need to create a simulation? He states that if we could ever fully understand the universe or the human mind and body, then problems that we face now with the earth and with sickness would be eliminated because of the progress we made. Hence, if creating a simulation was out of the need for human survival, but we solved the greatest mysteries of life, then it's not too far of an assumption to think we would be more occupied with the possibilities of our future than trying to replicate our past, especially of a time when we were less enlightened. He goes on to make another point that if creating a simulation was out of need for survival, that would then mean that although our technology had progressed, we failed at finding a way to save our home. And what I glean from that is, yeah, if we did find a way to, transfer our consciousness into an AI or create a simulation so a copy of humans could survive our demise, who would be there to oversee the very device that keeps it running? Or better yet, if the world was in such bad shape that we needed to bail, that would probably also mean that our power sources have been depleted. So how the heck could we imagine running these things until time indefinite? And like I said before, there were many other papers and videos made refuting Bostrom's hypothesis, and many use the same reasoning with slight variations here and there. So I would recommend just doing some research to help you grasp a better understanding. Trust me, if this topic interests you, then it's completely worth it to do the homework on it. And well, there you have it. This can be exhausting, I know. After all the research, I was like, man, I don't even really care anymore. Whether we are or not, I'm here. I enjoy my life. I enjoy my family. I'm grateful every day for the chance that we have to be together. And no matter what side you believe, whether you think we are or not, or whether you think we're something completely different, the similarity of every belief on how we are here takes some faith into being convinced it's the right choice. It's a big, wide world out there, folks. And in mystery, there's beauty. So keep asking, keep looking for those answers, and we'll be here to help in every way to investigate topics right there alongside you. This is the Space City X-Files, And we'll see you next time, friends. Thank you so much for listening to our new podcast. If there's any topic that you think deserves to be investigated, feel free to share those in an email to us. You can email us at info@spacecityxfiles.com, or you can click on the website and submit your theories there. And man, we love and appreciate all our listeners. We do the hard work day in and day out to present the best topics possible with the research facts to support our findings. And so, and we appreciate all your support. And if you would like to support the show, you can do that in two ways, two good ways. The first way is on our website. You can click on the Patreon tab. That's going to take you to a spot where you can become an exclusive member. Once you become an exclusive member, you can get unreleased episodes, behind the scene content, and we're gonna hook you up with some free swag. Okay. The other way that you can do it that helps us out tremendously is wherever you're listening from. In the description, there should be a review link. Leaving us a review would help us so much in helping us get more exposure and to bring more people in, to get more people listening. And but however you decide to give, hey, it's all appreciated the same with us, and we appreciate it and we love you. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks.